With Alan McNish and company. The green is out. James Weaver leads them across, and the battle is joined immediately 3 wide as they head for 1. Jack Baldwin drops back from the front row to the 4th position as John Field in that red and blue Lola Judd and the number 12 Reese Ferrari take over 2nd and 3rd behind James Weaver.
And there's trouble there just going down into the Rodriguez hairpin.
One of the Corvettes
all over the place.
Several cars involved. The number 83 Riley and Scott Ford from the Bob Aiken stables is still not moving as the traffic makes its way around.
Now here's the 3 Corvette. Either the 3 or the 2 car got caught out in that first lap schmozzle. I'm not sure, but one of them took to the grass. This one looks okay.
That is Paul Newman behind him in the number 76 car. The car number matching his age. I should say his car at least is running behind. Newman sharing with Gunnar Jeanette, Wayne Jackson, and Michael Brockman. You'd think after all of that bouncing around on the grass that we'd have had more visits to the pits, but we've had very, very few cars call in at the pits after that first lap schmozzle. Right and left.
And he has his teammate right behind him, keeping him honest, running defense.
Now, we must keep in mind that Dale Earnhardt is a very good road racer. He's had tremendous success in the NASCAR events at Sears Point, where he has won, and at Watkins Glen as well. He is not a novice when it comes to turning right, but this is a very different mechanical combination. The transmission is very different from the Jericho-style one they use, just slamming it into gear.
Really almost ready for dries earlier on the wet tires in the weekend, but really he's done no wet driving, no. I mean, tough out there because he really didn't get any green flag running to get the tires up to temperature, and that's a big concern out there right now. So what do you tell him? I mean, you've obviously discussed we've had inclement weather all weekend. What did you tell him under these conditions? What do you need to do?
Staying off the line is the critical thing at Daytona like anywhere else. The banking is fine. You can go flat around the banking in the wet with the good rain tires. It's not a problem. The Goodyears work real well. Stay off the white paint. Stay off any of the paint. It's a good thing to do. But stay off in the infield. Stay off the traditional line. It seems to be a lot grippier.
They're following Johnny right now. Was he nervous before he got in the car? I mean, this is a new environment for him out there. One thing running by yourself, but when you get out there in a race, different scenario. Was he nervous at all before the green, getting in the car?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last part.
Was he nervous before getting in the car?
Was he? Are you kidding me? That guy's never been nervous his whole life. I can't believe you asked me that question. No, I'm sure he wasn't nervous.
Third full course caution of the race.
There's the Viper.
One of the Chamberlain Vipers, the car number 15. Christian Van has had an interesting race thus far.
Yeah, he'd pulled off the track earlier on down there, going up onto the banking, which is a bad spot for him.
Here's another look. There's that car at the bottom of your screen.
The Viper, you can see right, tags the prototype, which in turn pushes into the Porsche.
Well, that's one of those things where you've got 3 cars doing completely different speeds coming down that front straightaway. The prototype
off into turn 1, and there it is. Collins up onto the banking and just had the back end come around on, able to turn into the spin, get it down on the grass safely, and get it stopped without doing any damage.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. should not feel bad about this because 2 laps ago we saw one of the best guys in the sports car racing business, Butch Leitinger, spin on cold tires, on the slicks, on the wet race.
He's just having a word with his team crew. Andy, have you got a minute to talk to us? The conditions on the wet weather tires weren't too bad then.
No. After a long pit stop by the sister car to the 16, the number 20 Dyson Racing Riley and Scott Ford. They had some transmission problems. Long stop allowed this car to be the first GT car to move up onto a podium position. Once again, there's a long way to go. You see, we're just over 310 laps into the race for that
category. Quite a few laps behind Kneiffel's class leading machine right now, but nonetheless, they have been a very consistent car, and Kneifel trying to come up and get another lap on them here, and the bicycle machine duly moves over, gives way, understanding that Kneifel was going to go by, might as well make it easy and avoid any problems. And that was interesting there. You were talking about, Jeremy, how the cars, most of them avoiding getting out in that concrete strip, but when somebody's passing it, sometimes you got to get onto it a little bit, go white knuckle, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's true. You just have to, not be quite as aggressive with the throttle. It's very, very slick in the infield there. You can see Chris there running around the rim of the corner where where the grip is a little bit better, and that's pretty classic rain driving, to stay off the more polished parts of the pavement.
Is that really bothering people?
It's been a long race. You gotta kind of expect that at this point in the number of hours we've got on the track. So, you know, again, just trying to be careful. Remember where everything is. Just don't make any mistakes.
All right, well, have a cup of coffee, maybe get a bit of kip, and then we'll see you back out in the car.
Thank you.
All right, that's Paul Macy, who just got out of the car, and now Martin Henderson is in the car.
Thanks very much, Guy. And it's interesting, Martin Henderson, he's a front runner in the Sports Racing World Cup last year, driving the Pilbeam chassis. We're watching the number 2 leading GTS division, second overall machine, making a run down in the pits. Obviously, this class, the Sports Racing Prototype 2 division, running in Europe to great effect as well with that Pilbeam chassis, Tempoli. I mean, there's a number of chassis being developed over there. Looks as though that's Frank Freon who's going to be falling behind the wheel of that car.
It's worse to have amassed it and then have it snatched away from you than never having amassed it at all.
But of course, as James Weaver said at the year-end show in Connecticut a few weeks back, he said, of course, the one thing about driving with Wallace, as he calls his teammate Wallace, is that he is really, really, really lucky in this type of race.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now look at this graphic. The last time a pole-sitting car, which the 16 Dyson car is, won the race was back in 1993. Dan Gurney's All-American Racers squad in the fading years of the GTP era won from pole position. They also set the fastest pole time, if I'm not mistaken, that year.
Live to Daytona International Speedway, where there is, well, I guess we might call the race leader-elect. The number 2 factory Corvette C5-R runs 15 laps down to the number 16 Dyson Racing Riley and Scott Ford. But if you've been with us, you know that in the most dramatic turn of what has been a very dramatic race to this point, the Dyson Racing machine has holed the engine block and stopped. They will not return. So it is up to the Corvette now to make its way to the race leader. A full course caution following a crash into the trackside guardrail in turn 1 by Josefina.
At the top teams probably change tires every stop. And the Corvette, the lead Corvette, has made 28 stops.
Very interesting car, a jet engine Rover or something. What was that all about?
Well, I drove a Le Mans in, I think it was 65, with the gas turbine Rover, which was incredibly slow. Maston Gregory, an American, won the race with Jochen Rindt in an LM Ferrari and lapped us every 3 laps.
Jackie, it was my first Le Mans, that race. I remember it well.
Well, I'll blame you in that case, Andrew, because we tossed up to see who would start the race, and the one who lost the toss had to start the race.
That was Graham Hill, wasn't it?
It was Graham, but he had to promise to run it into the sandbank at the end of Mulsanne Straight in the first lap. He did it, but he didn't do it properly.
Didn't get it stuck.
Is it true, Jackie, in those days you actually, at Le Mans, used to carry a shovel in the car to sort of dig it out of these sandbags?
Yeah, absolutely. You did have a shovel in the car, and the gas turbine took in some of that sand on that first lap, and in fact put the temperatures up. We were running the whole race at a reduced pace, but we finished, I think, 11th, and were the first British car home. Pretty poor performance, really, but it was really...
You did finish it, you? I couldn't remember you finishing. I remember you driving that.
No, it was boringly long, the race.
But that's all right, because Jackie kept the shovel and used it to shovel the money into his suitcase that he got for driving.
Jackie, you've been involved at the highest level of motorsport for so long, and you began in an era when we saw drivers jump from series to series. Someone would drive open wheel in every open wheel formula. They would drive sports cars. They might drive saloons or touring cars. Do you ever see that era coming again when top drivers can be seen in all different forms of cars?
I'd like to see it. I enjoyed it. And the fact that you became versatile, the fact that you were working with different engineers, with different mechanics, with different team managers, with different manufacturers, the cultural ability for the drivers to understand all of these different systems and procedures and people was a great way to go. It was a great learning curve for me, and I think it stood me in good stead in later years. But
sets the theme for the final hour of our flag-to-flag live coverage of the Rolex 24 at Daytona, waiting for the end, listening for that odd sound, hoping to see the checkered flag.
A sweet moment there for the Corvette as it passes the Viper. The winner, of course, of this race just by 30 seconds over the Corvette last year.
Amazing race last year, and what an amazing race this year. But here they come.
And this is the acme for the factory Corvette effort. In their third season, they have done what seems so far away just so recently. They will come across the line, and the checkered flag will wave. The 39th edition of the Rolex 24 at Daytona is all Corvette. Ron Fellows and his crew, Chris Neifel, Frank Freon, and Johnny O'Connell go into the record books, the Roll of Honor here at the Rolex. And now it's official.